What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe show. As always, I like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. Do note this is the home of Epic Conversations. I'm the host of Epic Conversations, 2018 award winner for innovation given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. And I seem to be on a run lately about these type of conversations about decades. Like all of a sudden, people are realizing it's the end of the decade. But I was chatting with my, I can hopefully say friend, a few weeks ago about this, and I'm just on a roll about doing these epic conversations. And tonight we're going to frame it in a different way. We have Danny Stone here, excellent individual, excellent husband, excellent chef. I've been finding out a great coach, involved in a lot of positive projects and thoughts, and he'll share a little bit about those things as we do our journey tonight. But we're going to chat tonight about what have you accomplished over the last decade, and what are you going to accomplish over the next decade. Many people still don't realize this is the end of a decade. Wow. It's the end of a decade, folks. And it's funny, if last week I was doing this conversation with a group of Black men from Canada, the United States, and England. And one of the gentlemen, I'll put out his name, Jonathan Shaw, said to me, Dr. Vibe, I didn't even realize about this end of the decade thing till you told me.
Yeah.
I said, all right, well, that's a good thing. So we're going to, we actually have a gift for you too, if you're watching this live on the replay.
That's right.
In regards to the decade. And if you need if you want to get out of park to drive, as Mr. Stone was saying, we're going to have an offer on top of that also, but I'm going to put the offer in Danny's name first and my name second. That's the way I like to be. Mr. Stone, how you been keeping? Tell us a little bit about yourself for people who don't know you yet.
I'm just a servant. I've been serving my whole entire life, helping people to go from impossible to possible to making it happen. So, I'm a coach, author of 2 best-selling books. One just got released. I co-wrote a book called New Me with 9 other men. And so we're excited that book is out right now. I'm a speaker, personal development teacher, former college professor. And I'm just somebody who just dedicated my life to kind of serving others and helping them see what's possible. So that's what I've always been about, and that's what I continue to be about.
Excellent. Very, very good. When I wonder if you remember when I brought this up about the end of the decade to you, and I think I even caught you off guard when I mentioned this. And what did it make you think about?
Well, it's interesting because I was so focused on, usually I'm focused on, wrapping up the year and doing my own self-reflection and setting up, the next year for success. So I normally start, goal setting and planning and all that kind of stuff at least a month or 2 prior to the end of the year. And I encourage my coaching clients to do the same. And so I was kind of in this whole mode where, okay, the end of the year, going through the motions. And then you and I were having this conversation, and then you brought up, well, yeah, it's the end of the year, but it's the end of the decade. And I kind of paused, and I was like, yeah, we're coming to the end of a decade. And I think that warrants some self-reflection to think about, what has happened in the last 10 years, and what do you want for the next 10 years? So that was a really, interesting kind of conversation that you and I were having.
And just to know that, folks, when Danny and I speak offline, they're always interesting conversations. It's not waste of time. It's no fluff. It's like very laser focused. It's almost like we're coaching each other.
It's true
in real time. So it's not a fluff conversation. We come out with purpose and intention, and it's always great. And I'm going to put it out there that one of the blessings I've had in my journey over the last decade is to get to know Danny better.
Oh, wow, that's great.
And I'm looking forward to know him and his wife better in the next decade and be a servant to both of them wherever I can.
And me to you as well. I think, one of the things that, I like about you, and I think it's not clear to a lot of people, but if you're trying to go somewhere and you have big goals and big dreams that you want to accomplish, you have to look at who's around you. And if the people around you aren't thinking bigger than you, then you're around the wrong people. And so what happens with a lot of people is they look around and they realize I'm stuck, or I'm not where I want to be in my career or my relationship or my finances. And that's a big part of that is because the people around them are in the same situation. And so that's what I like about you is you're doing big things. You have big goals and aspirations. You're on a bigger mission than just yourself. And I think it's important for me to connect with somebody like you because that's what I'm on. You know, you have to feel like you're even people who have a certain level of success. And I've realized this with some of my coaching clients, they still feel like something's missing because they're not attached to a bigger mission and a bigger purpose. And so you have to find people like that, or you have to find a bigger mission and cause, because that's kind of the vision for where your life is going.
Excellent. And with any of your current coaching clients, have you provided this platform saying it's a new decade? And first of all, do any of them, are they caught by shock? And do any of them have even a thought purpose of what they have accomplished and what did they want to accomplish?
Yeah, I have. I've mentioned it to about 3 of my clients so far. 2 of them are completely caught off guard. Like, wait a minute. They were getting ready to go through, like, these 3 have been coaching clients for about a year and a half to 2 years. Yeah. So 2 of them were all set to be like, okay, we're going through our year-end thing. And the other one was kind of new to it. And so when I mentioned it to them, one of them was, the 2 of them were like, wait, decade? Okay, I got a lot of thinking to do. I have a lot of work to do. And so I think it was a kind of a really interesting response. And their response was interesting as well. This is how you can tell the difference between somebody who's being coached and somebody who may not be, because they knew that the work was coming, right? They expected some work to be coming to the end of the year. They're all of my coaching clients, none of them start their goals in January. They all start in November and December. So it was great when I kind of brought that up. They knew the work was coming, but they just didn't understand that, wait, we're wrapping it up. This is a decade. So it's caught a few people off guard.
Oh, good. Fantastic. So I don't know. We have a gift for everybody. I don't know if we want to go through that first, or do we want to bounce off each other some of the things that we've learned over the past decade and are focusing on for the next decade. So which road do you want to take?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's do our learnings, our successes, some of our struggles, and then we can sort of talk a little bit about that because it'll make more sense afterwards.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll have the surprise at the end. And it also allows us to be, and actually I do want to level up what Danny said. He had the book, that the New Me book is 9 Black Men.
Yeah, I have it here actually.
So if you want to, Dan, if you can just show it.
So this is the book. It's available on Amazon right now. It's called New Me. It's 10 men and 10 stories of perseverance. And on the back, you can see, we have a police officer, we have a doctor, we have a couple entrepreneurs, some community workers, and it's just about us sharing challenges that we've had to overcome to get where we are. And so there's a lot of lessons in the book. At the end of every chapter, we have what's called principles. And these are the principles that we've learned from going through the challenges that we've gone through. So it's really great that you get to read this story. And at the end of the story, you get these principles, which are 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 principles, which are really kind of like lessons that you can kind of take and hopefully relate to as well.
Excellent. Before we go any further, as always, I'm live streaming on a number of different platforms. On one of them right now on Periscope, we have David A. Hughes all the way from Australia.
Hey, David. How you doing?
Who's watching, and David is a longtime supporter and a very solid and purposeful young man and very involved in Toastmasters.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, that's a great organization.
So, David, thanks as always. And I want to say, if I don't communicate with you over the holidays, the best wishes to you and your family for this year and in the next decade. So let's not next year. I like to say the next decade.
That's right.
Do you want to start with something that you've learned or do you want me to start?
Yeah, you go ahead. You can start.
Well, one of the things I've learned over the last decade is that don't be so stuck on your outcomes. And what I mean by this is that a lot of times you have a goal you want to reach and you have a certain game plan on how to reach it.
Right.
And then when that game plan doesn't work, a lot of people quit.
Right.
And people need to realize that things happen like this.
Right.
Most of the time, they don't just happen like this. They happen like this. Don't be so stuck to your outcomes that you're not willing to be flexible on how to achieve those outcomes. And I've realized that myself over, especially the last decade. And I'll take an example of what I'm doing here. Many years ago, when I had hair and I started this, a gentleman who mentored me in regards to how to level up my podcast, and I was just doing audio podcasts back then, said, Dr. Vibe, your goal, actually, I'll mention his name because I give respect, Ray Ortega. He runs a great broadcast if you want to get educated about podcasting called the Podcaster Studio. Wonderful broadcast. But he said, Dr. Vibe, if you, your goal is to be top of mind when you're thinking of Black men that are great interviewers. And I thought I had a certain way of doing it, but it's taken a number of different things. I don't consider myself top of class.
Oh, definitely.
I believe I'm good.
Yeah.
So but just the twists and turns, I never thought that I'd be doing live streaming video. I never thought I'd be doing over 2,000 conversations.
Wow.
But all the different twists and turns to get there, it wasn't a linear path.
No. And I think the interesting thing is, like, who did you become along that journey, right? And what did you realize about yourself along the journey, right?
Yeah. For me, some of the things I've learned is sometimes working out the seat of your pants. I think also, too, a nice thing along the journey is that I learned before we did these video live streaming, I had to be able to engage with people over a phone and not seeing them.
Right.
And I think I thought, man, I can't see these people. But at the end of the day, it's made me better at what I do now, because if I can engage with someone over a phone who doesn't even see me, then this part is a bonus. Actually, I'll use an example. About 2 weeks ago, I was in a conversation with 3 members of a PR agency in regards to one of the organizations that I represent. They approached this organization to see if they could do a collaboration for a major men's brand.
Wow.
And there's a whole story, but I'll get to the end part of the story. Sorry, microphone. So they asked me a whole pile of questions, and some of them I couldn't answer. Say, there's other people in the organization that best to, answer these questions. So at the end of the conversation, this is actually a tip for people. So they asked me, do you have any questions? And I said, what are the 3 biggest challenges you're facing with this brand?
Good question.
And dead air for 15 seconds.
Yeah.
They're going,
that's when you know it's a great question.
Oh, wow. Oh my gosh. And for their answers, I said, well, this organization that I represent can help you with that. They help you with that. Like, another way of phrasing is what keeps them up at night. Right. So doing that. And at the end, they said, the first thing they said is, we love your passion.
Wow. Okay. And
they felt that over a phone call.
Yeah, because you see, I mean, there's a couple of lessons there, but maybe you realize this, but you have to understand what you just said. When you first started the podcast, it was, over audio, and so you had to learn to connect with people over audio, right? You had this conversation recently over audio, and you've honed those skills to really show who you are and your authenticity over the phone. And so I think it's important that you and people watching and myself, that we make these connections between the things that are happening in our life. Because as you said, sometimes things don't happen the way that you expect, and you figure, it's just not happening quick enough. It's not, but it's a building block to something bigger.
Yeah.
And so listening to you, that's kind of what I got from what you just said.
Yeah.
It was a building block that led you to this, in many, I'm sure, conversations where your authenticity, your enthusiasm, your inquisitiveness comes through the call.
Yeah.
Right.
So just want to shout out also Imani Inspired. Thank you so much for jumping on via Periscope. Now, the funny thing is, I'll continue the story. So now, not only is it become that opportunity, but now they have asked us to see if we can coordinate some viewing partners with dads and their kids for Raptors games.
Oh, yes.
so
awesome.
that doing that stuff all around has led to those sort of things. So I guess for my passion, I've really, there's another thing. Clarity is so important, and passion.
Yes. Yeah.
And I've been able to get better at clarity and get better at my passion, and also in regards to priorities and values.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. And that's one of the very first starting place that I have with any coaching client is getting clear about what you really want. Because so many of us spend time chasing things that we don't even want, right? We want it because other people have it, or we think that it equates to a certain level of success or happiness. And clarity is like the number one step, as the first thing that you should do before you run out and just try to chase your dreams. You got to get clear about what you want. So you're completely right about that.
So just to test and see, and people like to say multitask, I like to multi-purpose. So I've just jumped on to what's going on YouTube, and guess who's watching us on YouTube?
Who's that?
I'm gonna ask to see if you can guess.
Trish?
No.
I don't know.
Oh, come on. I mentioned this.
Louis?
No.
Jeff?
What?
Jeff?
Jeff A.D. Martin is watching.
Okay. Hey, Jeff, how you doing, brother?
He's watching on YouTube, and he says, let's get that book out to David in Australia. All right.
Let's do it. Let's do it. There it is.
So David, if you want to get a copy of the book, I'm sure that I can get a link for you, and I know David would appreciate it. But now, Jeff, absolute pleasure having you on and watching, and feel free to provide comments or questions. We're here to serve. So I've taken up too much airtime. I usually don't chat this much an hour.
No, it's great. It's great.
But what's something that you have gathered in your journey over the last decade?
I think for me, one of the biggest, much like you, but I think one of my biggest lessons over the last decade was that I have to set bigger goals and bigger dreams. What I realized is that one, clarity is important, but the other thing is that I was setting goals that were way too small. And the problem with that was I was achieving them and nothing was changing. Nothing happened. I would say, I want to make an extra $5,000 this year. Well, that doesn't really change my life. I would say things like, I want to, travel to Miami, it's fine for some people, but for me, I had to set bigger dreams and bigger aspirations. And once I did that, it really stretched me outside of my comfort zone. And in doing that, I there was a lot of growth, a lot of personal growth, a lot of professional growth. And, it led me to quitting my job and starting my own business, writing 2 books. And so what I realized is that I was playing it safe. I was setting these little tiny goals that I could, pretty much stumble over, but they weren't moving my life forward at all in any major way. So I started setting bigger goals that were challenging me and stretching me to step outside of my comfort zone. And then I noticed that I started, attracting the right people. Great opportunities started coming my way to work in other countries. I just realized that putting myself out there more just led to more opportunities. And and more opportunities to serve more people in different places.
Nice. That's and one of the key words I know in your vocabulary is serving.
Yeah, definitely. I've been a servant since I was, since I can remember.
I think you've been a servant since you came out of the womb, to be honest with you. But that is a good thing. Like, that is really good. So I guess it's back in my court, and I'll sort of see if I can truncate it a little bit more this time. I think another thing that I achieved definitely over the last decade, is my passion for helping men where they're at.
Yeah.
I didn't have that passion at the beginning of the decade. And I guess one of the things that's helped accelerate it was being a featured contributor at the Good Men Project, which is one of the most viewed sites in the world for men. And I didn't even realize it, but the other day they thanked me saying, congratulations on being a 7-year contributor to our platform. And,
that's amazing.
And the thing is, every week I'm the only online broadcaster that has a permanent slot every week to put my content.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing.
But my passion to help men where they're at has really become very much a core for me this decade. And it's just I deal with men with all different backgrounds, all different races, creeds, and colors, and just being able to accept them where they're at, them trust me and confide in me, has been a very big thing that's happened at the end of this decade. And I'm just going to do the best I can to level it up as much as I can. So that's definitely one of the things that made a difference for me.
But I think that's huge, because in my experience in dealing with, working in the corporate world and working with lots of coaches and lots of, teachers and community servants, you have to kind of set your ego aside to be able to do that. Because people go into conversations with expectations. Okay, I'm going to say this and you're going to respond this way, or this is what I want you to know. And being able to serve people where they are, it takes a lot of letting go. It takes a lot of, active listening, being willing to just let the conversation go where it goes. And it's very challenging, I find, for a lot of people that I've worked with in the corporate world and in coaching and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, that's a great sort of, I don't even know if it's a skill, a philosophy or whatever you want to call it, to work with people where they are.
Yeah. And I think, and I'm sure you and I can really just, more and more people are looking for that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think when I wrote my first book, You Have the Keys Now Drive, I was looking at, all of these people out there, all the, Tony Robbins and Robin Sharma, and people that I admire. And a lot of their books were 250 pages. Some of them were 300 pages. And I thought that I had to write this 300-page book. And after talking to people and reflecting on my own journey and some of the people that I've served over the last 10, 15 years, I thought, no, people need information now and they need to get into action. So I wrote a 120-page book that was really actionable. And at the time, I had no writing experience or anything. And I told this to a number of people. Even I think Jeff knows this as well. But I told you that I just wanted to help one person with the book. I thought if I could just help one person, I'm fine with it. And so I put myself in the reader's shoes, and I thought, if I'm stuck in my job or some area of my life or relationship, or I'm just feeling lost, am I going to really sit down and read a 250-page book? And me personally, no. And so it's exactly what you're saying. You have to meet people where they're at. And that's what I tried to do with the book. And, luckily it's reached readers in 7 or 8 countries, and people are really kind of responding well to it. But I agree with you. You have to meet people where they are.
Absolutely. No doubt about it. Back in your court.
One of the biggest learnings for me over the last decade was that I had to learn to narrow and focus on, and you and I were just having this conversation, on spending time with the right people. Spending time with people who are, I call goal getters, GOAL, goal getters, people who are ambitious, people who have a bigger mission than themselves. You know, I was spending time with people who didn't have a lot of goals, were stagnant in their life, or people who were just taking more than they were giving. And, you know, I realized that, you know, I was having these conversations or mentoring people, and they just didn't respect my time. They didn't appreciate the conversations that we were having. And it took me a little while to kind of realize that, you know, you can't be everything to everyone. You have to just focus on the people that, you know, are going to lift you up and that you lift up, and people who give more than they take. And so that's one of the most sort of powerful awakenings that I've had over the last decade, is to spend time with people who have big missions, big dreams, and who are givers. And
nice.
And so I learned a lot from just weeding out certain people and honing in on certain relationships.
Very good. Very good. Let's see. I know some other people have jumped on, so let me just see who else has came on, or some other people, but no problem. Another thing for me is, how can I put it? The why not me syndrome.
Yeah.
Now,
yeah.
And the reason that now, so this is the thing. There was a time that I thought, you know what, I should be where those people are.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we all do.
But I realize again, and what I said, things take time. Other people have things on their priority lists, and I may not be one of them. So
Right.
I have to realize that at the end of the day, the only person I can control at the best of times is myself.
Right. Right. That's good.
Because you know, going back to the PR agency, I had reached out to them back in September.
Right.
And it was actually I'll give a little bit more of the story. At the Toronto International Film Festival this year, they screened a movie titled Dads. It's a documentary about fathers, and it's produced by Bryce Howard, who is the daughter of Ron Howard.
Right.
So I was doing some research, going, hey, this film premiered, and I said, So 10 years ago, I would have said, okay, no problem. But now I found out the name of the person from the PR agency, and I contacted and said, hey, wish would have known about this. We have some dads that would have loved to have gone to it. She said, you know, things at the film festival can be last minute. I said, no problem. Then I said to her, look, I do a lot of stuff in this space. Do you mind me just sharing some information? 2 weeks ago, hey, Dr. Vibe, would you be interested in doing it? I was going, okay. So I tell people, put things out there, but make sure they're quality things out there. Don't just put it out there for putting out their sake.
Right.
So now I am very focused, and if I see an opportunity, I may not see it 100% clear, but just the opportunity of just getting that, yes, we'll look at it. That is a big thing, because many years ago, I just want to get into something if it's a proven go.
Right.
No,
right.
Let's get it out there.
Wow. I mean, that good for you, man. Good for you for jumping on that and reaching out. You just never know where that contact's going to lead, right? You just don't know where that conversation's going to lead. You don't know what people need at that time. You know, it's kind of like looking for a job, you know, and you have a specific company in mind that you want to work for, but you don't see any opportunities posted, so you don't apply, right? Well, that's not the case. We've all worked for organizations. You know, sometimes there's jobs at organizations that just haven't been posted yet. Maybe they're just asking employees, you know, to refer people. So it's the same situation, right? Sometimes you just have to put yourself out there and see what happens. So, wow, that's pretty amazing, man. That's great.
So we just do. So back in your court, my man.
You know, one of the biggest learnings for me, I think, over the last decade was that there was I had a lot of sort of self-doubt, and I allowed other people to plant seeds in my head in terms of what I was capable of. And I think, and it was, for instance, like I remember when I told a colleague, this was years ago, that I wanted to go to Brazil. It's always been a dream of mine. And then, I told him, and he said, well, you're not going to be able to get the time off of work. And he gave me all these lists of reasons why it was impossible. And then I told a family member, and they said, all these reasons why it was so difficult to go. And for the longest time, I listened to other people's limitations on me. And what happened was, once I sort of stepped into getting mentors and coaches, they opened up, the possibility for me, because I went from thinking things were impossible to possible to doing them. And I just spent a lot of time just kind of with self-doubt and allowing other people to plant these doubtful seeds in my mind. And once I landed a coach and a mentor, I learned how to start my day with a morning ritual. And that was one of the most powerful things that I've ever done. Waking up, doing certain things every day to get my mind in a certain state and to get me focused on what I have to do for the day to make my dreams come true.
Nice.
But it was a long journey. It was a long, I grew up around a lot of negative people. And then, in my workplaces, I've encountered a lot of very negative people. And I allowed that to kind of seep into my mindset. And I noticed myself just kind of being stagnant in life, not doing anything because of other people's opinions. Nice. And so when I broke free from that, once I finally got a coach and a morning ritual, everything changed for me.
Nice. With your coaching clients right now, and I know you pose this question to them, what are some of the things that they said, like, and obviously I don't want you to give their names, but what are some of the things they feel that they've achieved over the last decade? And what are some of the things they want to achieve in the next decade, if they've given that information to you as of yet?
Well, I've had a number of coaching clients who quit their, what we call 9-to-9 jobs.
I like how you said that.
Yeah, it's not 9 to 5 anymore. The amount of time and energy you put behind your job and the amount of extra hours that you put in and the commutes to and from work, it's not a 9 to 5, it's a 9 to 9. And so, a few of them are really stuck in their jobs, and they weren't happy. They felt like they weren't being valued. And so a few of them have transitioned out of their jobs and started their own businesses. One of them right now is working between California and Saudi Arabia.
Wow. Yeah, you've told me about this person. Yes.
And another one is working between Kenya and Argentina.
Wow.
And so, that's definitely happened. Another one of my clients was feeling really stuck in life, and she'd been single for a very long time and was attracting a lot of the wrong guys, and it just wasn't working out. So the fact that she really wanted to be in a loving relationship and she couldn't, it was really negatively affecting so many other areas of her life. Her relationship with her family members, her coworkers, she just lacked confidence, and she thought it was something about her that, and anyway, once she kind of got into this mindset of, being more confident, realizing, that she's amazing and that she has to, start putting out the right vibrations. She started going back to the gym. She started feeling more confident. She started getting more recognized in her job. And she actually ended up meeting a guy, and they got married last year.
Congrats. Oh, that's fantastic.
So
did she invite you to the wedding?
No, I didn't get the invite, but that's okay.
What?
That's okay.
What?
That's okay.
Okay.
So, there's things like that happening. Somebody else was really struggling with stress and anxiety. And once we got into the morning ritual, she's feeling way more confident. A lot of that stress and anxiety is gone. She's feeling more comfortable speaking to people and speaking in front of groups. She joined Toastmasters.
Nice.
All of these things that she would have never done. So things are. I think what happens is I'm working on a master class, a free master class right now, and it's all about like how to live your dreams. And one of the things that I found in the research is that when you're accountable to someone, you're 65% more likely to achieve that goal. And when you have to report that accountability to somebody, it bumps up to 95%. That was according to American Society for Training and Development. So accountability is key,
Huge.
Right? Accountability is key. And so when you're accountable to somebody and you're paying the money, you're going to do the work. And when you do the work, you're going to achieve things that you never thought you could achieve. Right.
That's, I'm going to piggyback on that. That's one of the things I fully am realizing over the last decade, that if anytime I move forward in a positive direction is because I've done the work.
Right.
When I don't move forward, it's because I haven't done the work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Simple as that.
But here, the thing is, I think we've had the thing is that everybody's waiting for this perfect time, this perfect opportunity, this perfect connection.
Mm-hmm.
We're waiting until we have the right amount of money. We're all waiting, right? And are waiting. And there's a misconception that you have to believe in yourself before you get started. And I've said this many times. You don't have to believe in yourself to get started. Progress equals belief.
What?
Progress equals belief. So once you get started and you start to make progress, then you start understanding that, hey, maybe this is possible. You go from impossible to possible. And I think that's the big thing. We're always fed this thing like, you got to believe in yourself. You got to believe in yourself. Well, people just get started. The belief comes later on, right?
I'm going to add on to that. And this is just me. Look, no one has it 100% down. No. All right. Like I got my slip ups like anyone else. That's why I got size 14 feet, because I slip around a lot. Right. So you know what? Right. I can only speak for myself. I don't got all the answers, and I don't want to have all the answers. But what I have is a goal, a dream, and a desire.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and that's important, right? And I think that's why it's really important to spend time with yourself, to spend time understanding what it is that I really want. Who am I? Who am I trying to become? What are the things that are really going to move my life forward? We don't spend time with ourselves. We're in this society where people always have to be doing something. You always have to be online, clicking something, watching something. And I always say you have to slow down to speed up.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
You have to go into yourself and slow down and think about what you really want to speed up, to get what you want in life. And that's a big challenge for a lot of us. It's just that we're trying to avoid what we think we know, which is we need to get into action. So spending time with yourself, maybe you need to leave that relationship that you're in because it's toxic. Maybe you need to leave that job because it's unfulfilling. Maybe there's things that are locked away in the back of our minds that we know. And if we sit and spend time with ourselves, some of us just don't want to come to that realization that we're at the point where we actually have to take action. Well, and I think it's really important that we do that.
And I'll add this, especially for people in the next decade, staying still is part of the process.
Right.
Right? Staying still is part of the process.
Right.
Sometimes you need to park, because I keep using Danny's analogy of driving to success. Sometimes you got to park.
Yeah.
Because staying still is part of the process. Because if you keep on moving, you're going to burn yourself out.
That's true. I completely agree with that. And one of the things that I talk to people about in part of their morning ritual is journaling, meaning meditation and journaling. Journaling is very powerful, and that'll kind of lead into the gift that we have for people. But journaling, there's so many benefits of journaling, but there's three very powerful ones that I can think of right away. So one of the things that we do with ourselves is we block our blessings, we block our gifts, by saying, I can't do this, I'm not capable of that. We restrict ourselves. And when you journaling, it's normally this freeing experience. So when you journal, you can just write down how you're feeling, what you're thinking, your ideas, everything, without any constraints. And then what you do is later on, you can go back and you can make sense of those things and you can connect the dots. So, some of my most powerful ideas, some of my biggest wins for my business just came out of journaling. And so that's one of the most powerful things that happen with journaling is that you can just be free and let things go and come up with new ideas. And the second thing is you can let go of emotions and things that are kind of holding you back. So for some people, they may find it difficult having these conversations with people that they think, these challenging conversations. But journaling allows you to kind of let go of things that you may have been holding on to that have kind of been holding you back. And so you can just write and journal and let it out. And for a lot of people, journaling is very freeing for them. They realize that they've had these things bottled up inside of them and they've been blocking them from different things like blessings or relationships or even, things that are happening in their career or business. So journaling can be a powerful tool to kind of release things. And then, the third thing that sort of journaling allows you to do is it allows you to get focused. Journaling about certain things that you want, it starts to set the vision for where you're going in your life, right? And so we don't do that. We just wake up every day trying to play catch up. But like, where do you want to be in the next 5 years? Where do you want to be in the next decade, right? You have to start thinking about that, and then you have to write those things down.
Yeah.
And so that's the power of journaling. Right?
It adds on to what you were saying about the accountability piece. It just really reinforces that accountability piece, and it's so important. And one of the things I'm hoping I'm going to challenge people over the next decade, and you may want to do it now, is write a letter to yourself.
Yeah.
Write a letter to yourself, and every little once in a while, pull it out, and maybe you need to edit it. But write a letter to you. Actually, you know what? I think Danny will join me on this. Before the end of the year, hey, so Steph, how you doing? Take some time, sit in a chair, and write a letter to yourself before the end of this decade. Write a letter to yourself.
I like
it. Put it away, and let's say, God willing, you can look back at it whenever you want during the next decade, but especially, and I'm speaking, everyone's going to be alive who's watching this live or on replay. At the end of the next decade, pull that letter out.
Or even every year, the end of every year. Pull it out. Yeah.
Right? This is, like I said, it's a very special moment right now, folks. It's the end of a decade. Decade. Write a letter to yourself.
I like that idea.
And I just thought about this on the fly. And just write a letter to yourself. Go away. After all the Christmas partying's done, between Christmas and New Year's, write that letter to yourself. And check on it periodically. Because that's accountability to yourself. Because if you can't be accountable to yourself, it ain't going to happen with other people.
And I've gotten 2 of my coaching clients to do that before in the past, and it really helped them to kind of release things that they were holding on to. One about a relationship with her father who had now passed. So it was a very powerful experience for her. But I think accountability to yourself, and it's interesting because that's one of the biggest reasons people don't write down their goals, which is really interesting. You don't have to show your goals to anybody. So most of us don't write our goals down because it's making a contract and a commitment to ourselves, right? And And I think there's power in writing something down. There's power in writing your thoughts, your dreams, your goals down, because it just solidifies that commitment or that story or that information that you're putting out there to yourself. So I definitely like that idea. That's a great idea.
Well, and it's actually interesting when you emphasize write, not type it.
Right. That's right.
Like people who are old school have the old notepads.
I have one. I have an idea book that
like I know when I'm in a conversation with someone face to face or digitally, if they're writing things down on the notepad, I'm serious.
Yes.
Like they're
super serious.
Like nothing wrong with the digital devices, but they can crash, delete, and all that. But there's something about putting the pen to paper.
I agree. That
just takes it to another level that's really strong, powerful, meaningful. That is just absolutely huge. Absolutely. Well, so we also have another Get Vocals Jojo. Thank you for stopping by. Actually, Jojo, I saw you on the holiday gathering last. Well, she jumped off. That was quick. All right, no problem, Jojo. That was a quick in and out, but so still here because So Steph is such a big supporter. So Steph, I know you don't cam up that often, but even in the comments section, are there one or two things, and I know we're catching on the fly, that you have achieved over the last decade that you'd like to share, or are there one or two things you want to achieve in the next decade?
Yeah, that's good.
Just throwing it out there because I know So Steph, you're really strong, and I have to say thank you for your continuous support down from Texas. Thank you so much. I don't take it for granted, and hope your son is doing fine also.
That's great.
So we're having this conversation. Another thing for me one of the things I want to, because we're sort of running down on time soon, one of the things I want to achieve in the next decade is I want to be, I want to write a book.
Okay.
So the book thing has now, what type of book? I don't know yet.
Yeah.
But we'll see that sometime in the next decade, there'll be some sort of content, whether it's myself or maybe New Me will have a New Me too, and I'll be honored enough to be on in their pages.
Oh, this is the first of many, but I could definitely teach you how to write a book in like less than 8 to 10 weeks. There's super fast ways to write a book, actually.
Oh, now see, and this is why I appreciate wonderful people like So Steph. Also, a thing I learned in the last 10 years, the importance of relating, engaging, and Danny's word, serving your community. Because here's a perfect example. So Steph says, raising my son who isn't afraid to show emotion, apologize, and can admit when he's wrong, who is smart and funny and very handsome. That is a great goal.
I mean, that's amazing.
That is,
I think
also learning not to be hard on myself. I can relate. So Steph, people say I'm a funny guy. 10 years ago, I wasn't funny. Funny, but I've learned to laugh at myself, and always trying to find not only the good in every situation, but even more important, if you can find something funny about a situation and make the people laugh, is something people have told me. I've like, you're a funny guy. I go, really? I just put it out there, and I'm glad you didn't swing at me.
Can I make a recommendation to So Steph?
Yeah, please do.
About that?
Oh, she just left, but that's all right.
Okay.
Take it anyways.
Well, this is for anybody. I mean, one of the things that, that help us to eliminate self-doubt. One of the things that help us to eliminate self-doubt is how you start your day. Mm-hmm. And I believe in affirmations and I am statements, because when you start your day like that, the first thing that you think about is I'm worthy. I am this. I'm a great mother. So what I often tell people is you are what you say you are.
Yes.
Right. And the more that you say that you are these amazing things, the more you're able to shift from, and we all go through this, times of self-doubt. And when we don't believe ourselves, we can automatically go to gratitude but I am these things. And when you train yourself every day, it's like going to the gym. When you train your mind every day to acknowledge the amazing qualities about yourself, you spend less time in self-doubt and worry and and negativity, and you're able to make that switch a lot faster.
There you go. I like that. I hope Steph liked it too. I'm sure she did. Definitely. She goes, see, wonderful lady. Thanks for that. That is, yeah, that is so important that we have to, like, mentally, before I go outside to start my day, I say to myself, I'm the man for the job.
Yes. I can't remember this woman's name. She's like the coach to celebrities and billionaires and stuff. And she said that almost everything, every negative thought, every negative thing that we do and that happens within us boils down to us not thinking that we're worthy.
Yeah.
And basically she just gets you into these affirmations. I am. And so much so that people almost just put themselves in this meditative state every time they say it, and they start to believe it, and then they start doing amazing things, getting back to who they are. So words have power. I really believe words have power.
You see, and I love and so Steph, because I know Dan, you can help her out. And she goes, she struggles with anxiety. So I've been telling myself, I'm going to have a good day today.
Yes. And keep telling yourself that often, and have a couple of words that represent who you're trying to become, or a phrase or a statement, and say that to yourself every morning and throughout the day when you feel this anxiety coming on. Just say it in your mind or whatever. And you'll start to see that shift, along with meditation and some of those other things. But that's great. I mean, that's a really good start.
Yeah. For me, I've actually now put every period, I'll put stickers in my car, and the one that's in there right now is something good is going to happen to me today.
Yes, I love that.
Something good is going to happen to me today, and I also put another. Who am I going to serve today?
My whole thing is I'm going to be a blessing to somebody today. That's one of my whole messages when I wake up. Today I'm going to be a blessing to someone.
This social stuff, I'm loving this. My therapist gave me a journal exercise to write one thing I feel connected today, one thing to take care of myself, and one thing to do to feel productive. I love that.
Yes. That's great.
That is really good. And you know what I like about that social Steph? It's really streamlined 3 things. Because I was having a conversation with a client today, and I told them, do you have these long to-do lists every day? She goes, yeah, it's easy to get overwhelmed. And the thing is, if someone has 10 things to do in a day, they ain't going to get most of them get 2 of them done.
No. And Bob, that's what I was talking about. When you're clear about what you want, you're not going to have 10 goals, because you're going to have 2 or 3 goals that are going to move your life forward the most.
That's it.
In the next 90 days, the next 6 months, the next year, right? You hone in on that 1 or 2 things, and you put all that effort behind that. No, you look at highly successful, they don't have 20 things on the go at the same time. They're laser focused on 3 things or 4 things, and they do them really, really well, right?
Yeah.
So I agree with you.
I agree. That is something I learned over the last 10 years. And so, to paraphrase, and people from Toronto may get this, there is a television station in Toronto called City TV, and their tagline is "City Pulse, we're everywhere." And I tell people from Toronto, so some of them get it. I tell them, you can't be City Pulse, you can't be everywhere.
Yeah, though we do have one friend who is City Pulse.
Yes,
Mr. Louis March.
Yes, Louis Marsh. Yes, Louis Marsh, and he's transit.
Yeah,
everywhere.
Yeah,
Got to get Louis Marsh on here some way, somehow, in more, not in the next decade, within the next week or 2.
Of course.
I think would actually be great to have a conversation with him the last decade about gun violence in Toronto. I'm going to give him a call on that. I think either if we can't get him on before the end of the year, but the beginning of the new year, like the future, his thoughts about the future of gun violence in Toronto. So I'm going to, I would actually like to get both of you on for that. I think that would be a very, very powerful conversation. So that is good. And yeah, so true. Oh, so easy to get overwhelmed. I do 2 or 3 things. That's my goal for the day. I, I,
Yeah.
and I've also, over the last 10 years, I do have my to-do list, but I also have a to-learn list.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah,
To having
I'm
a
learning.
learn list, because the more you know, the more you need to know.
I agree. I agree. I'm taking a few online courses right now, so I completely agree with you. So I think now is a good time. Should
All
I
right, so
bring this up?
Mr. Stone has is going to bust something out for everybody here. You can see it visually, and then before the end, we can tell you how to get it. I'm going to copy and paste a link into the Get Vocal and YouTube right now. But Mr. Stone, tell us what you got in your hands. Hot little gift.
Well, this is something that you and I have kind of been working on, and it's called A Decade and Self-Reflection Guide. And, you know, we've been talking a lot about the power of journaling, the power of self-reflection, and how it helps you get focused on where you are and where you're going. So this is 15 powerful questions that you need to ask yourself about the last decade to make your next decade the best ever. So Dr. Bob and I put this together for you guys because, you know, we both understand the power of self-reflection. We both realize that in order to achieve amazing things that you want to achieve in 2020 and beyond, you have to slow it down. You have to think about where you are in your life. You have to think about your past successes, your past challenges, and use that information to supercharge your success in 2020 and beyond. And so there's 15 questions that we ask you in this guide. And it's really for you to just sit down, find a quiet place, and just think and be honest with yourself. I mean, it's for you. And I think that's really important, that you just be honest with yourself. And so the questions like, you know, what 3 amazing things happened in 2019 or the last decade? What are some of the challenges? You know, what did I learn about myself? You know, what did you learn about yourself? What are some of the things that you didn't complete? So what kind of got in the way of that? Maybe you changed your mind and you realized it wasn't as important, or maybe like me, like I used to be, I allowed other people to get into my mind and doubters and talk me out of what I thought my goals and dreams were. And so there's 15 really powerful questions in this guide that I think are really going to help you set up your next decade to be the most successful, to have the most happiness and fulfillment. And
I'm just going to add to that, and the wonderful thing, and I have to say, if this is because of my head, not in my heart. There are actually people watching on Facebook also, and I'm just going to, and Lesleen McEwen, who was so gracious to be part of my Cross Canada conversation about the next decade or the future of Black. Well, no, actually, she was on the conversation, one of my panelists on another platform about Black Canadians and mental health.
Okay, great.
From Ottawa. And I'm also going to just do one other thing here. So just bear with me a second as I multi-purpose. I don't multitask, I multi-purpose. We have Tanita Pearson, who's on from Tennessee.
Hey, how you doing?
Lesleen says, where is it available? So Lesleen, I'm giving you the link right now on the Facebook feed. So if you click on that bit.ly link, you'll be able to access the guide. So I love, again, very blessed to have a great community. And I mentioned that earlier on, that when you respect, engage, and serve your community, things like that happen. So Leslie, yeah, definitely. We appreciate your interest in the guide. Share the link with others.
Sure.
We're here to serve. Like I put Danny first in my, and I always put
I put you first.
So go through the guide. Some other things, if people want just a complimentary session with both of us, I think I'm pretty sure the information
is in the guide. It's in the guide as well.
Too. So that is available. But at the bottom line, Danny and I want you to succeed.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, we want you to succeed. The only success I have is with people.
Yeah.
And as I tell any new client, or I tell even the men I work with, I go, you didn't get in the world by yourself, so why are you trying to do it all by yourself?
I agree.
So that's why I've locked minds and hearts with wonderful men like Danny Stone, that we collaborate together, not for us, but for you.
Yeah, I mean, I think we have the same goal when it comes to that. It's serving people. It's helping people to kind of understand. Again, for me, it's going from impossible, from people thinking things are impossible, to becoming possible, to doing them, to living it. And we all kind of struggle because of life. You know, life gets in the way of a lot of things. And, you know, you have work, you have family, you have all these responsibilities. And what happens is we lock away our dreams. We lock away what's possible in our lives. And sometimes we need help to awaken those things. And that's what you and I are here to do. We're here to kind of awaken the dreams and the goals and the things that so many people have locked away because they think it's impossible. And to show you that it is possible, and to get through, you know, those challenges and the self-doubt and the not believing in yourself and the lack of confidence and the feeling stuck, to moving forward motion, to getting on the road and becoming the driver of your destiny and not a passenger in your purpose. So you and I have this, we have the same goal, and it's to see all of you, you know, succeed and to live your dreams and to create the life that you want. And it's not just for a select few people. And I think that's what we have to understand. It's not only those people over there that have the opportunity to do what they love for a living or to create the life they want. We all have that ability too. But we need that guidance. We need that inspiration. We need that, you know, the help, the strategy, the push, the accountability to do it. And so that's what Dr. Vibe and I are here for. We're here for that. And, you know, this guide is just the first step in helping you get, you know, reflect on where you've been and where you are, and decide on where you want to go in 2020 in the next decade. And in the guide, like he said, there's an opportunity for you to set up a complimentary call with us and us to help you get more clear about where you want to go.
Absolutely. You know, absolutely. I can't put that any better in regards to what Danny's just shared, because it helps me getting help from people who are further ahead than
I
where.
agree.
And there's something to be. There's one thing. It's one thing to have experience, but it's a better thing to have evaluated experience.
Right. That's true. I agree with that.
Big difference. And for everyone who's watching or listening to this live, I always believe that your gift will take you where your character will fail you.
Mm.
And where you're not there when it comes to character or best practices, that's where coaching comes in.
That's right.
A good coach will realize your gift, and you come say, hey, I'm trying to get this, achieve this and that. And that's where we help you with your character building, your self-confidence, your thought process. And we work with, we help you. We don't do the work for you, though. You got to do the work.
Yeah, I'm not your chauffeur. You have to drive yourself. Right? But you I'm in the passenger seat helping you navigate.
you got to do the work, because the thing is, when you do the work with a coach, you can say at the end of the day, look where I came from.
Oh, both of us have coaches, and we realize that, you know, I've had different coaches for different things over the years. And I know that is, you know, one of the biggest factors that really helped me transform my life. Helped me go from, you know, thinking things were impossible, being stuck in a job, to, you know, launching multiple businesses, writing a couple of books, you know, traveling to over 20 countries. It's coaching that I wouldn't have done it if I didn't have coaching. I just wouldn't have. You know, it helped me to, you know, be more confident in who I am. It helped me to land my amazing wife. It just, you know, things that I just never thought were possible in my life. So I know the power of coaching firsthand. And that's why, you know, even when I never thought I could afford coaching, I invested in coaching, because I realized it was an investment, and it paid off, you know, 9-10 times over.
Fully agree on that. I'm just typing the link out again in the Get Vocal platform. And as I say to people, another thing I want people to achieve in the next 10 years, I want to see that you have more investments and less expenses. And I'm
Yeah.
not just talking monetarily.
Right. Yeah.
Investments, long-term investments, invest in long-term relationships, invest in long-term self-development.
Yes. Yes.
You
I
know,
think you're right.
long-term in character building. Just invest, keep on investing, keep on investing. Hey, if you most people who invest in the stock market, the ones who know what they're doing, they put their money in there and they leave it.
Right.
And it can go up and down and all over the place. But at the end of the day, like if you've invested in Apple stock because it drops $10, if it dropped $10 tomorrow, you're gonna leave?
Absolutely not.
No. Investments.
No, I think that.
Go ahead.
No, I think that's a great point. I think for me, I was raised with a family who understood that, family and friends are important. There was always people around. There was always people helping you out when you were stuck. And, I learned this from my mother, my grandparents, that relationships are important. And it's not just about what you can get from that individual. It's about what you can give as well. And I've had some friendships that have lasted over 25 years. And, what I've gotten from those relationships is, you can't even put a value on it. Right. So investing in relationships and like you said, just, go, it's like the stock market, things go up and down with relationships. But if you realize that you have this relationship with somebody and that person's a good person, that they're about giving more than taking, then maintain that relationship. That's something that I've dedicated my life to, is maintaining relations. I have friends that I speak to in Africa almost every other day. I have friends in Brazil that I speak to like at least once or twice a week. It's maintaining those relationships, because we're in a world right now where there is a lot of taking, and there is a lot of people who appear to have your back, and sometimes they don't. And so when you find somebody who's real and honest and for you, then maintain that relationship.
So Steph says, I think of relationships as what I can learn, share, and teach.
Yes, that's great. I love that. So,
Steph, you may want to get in the coaching world.
Yeah, I was just thinking the same thing. So coach.
So Steph, maybe you I know you got lots of talents. You're showing your fire as usual. So
I love that. I love it.
My friends think I should have been a psychologist. I think you should be a coach, not a psychologist.
Yeah.
And that, well, you know what? The possibilities are endless. It's where you want to land.
That's true.
Right. And if you want any thoughts on coaching, Danny's here. I'm here. We can certainly give you. She starts laughing. I understand. But no, if you want any thoughts about coaching, definitely, Dan, you can speak to Dan. You can speak to myself. But I've seen what you and experienced what you've added to make the conversation so rich.
That's great.
And you have a very rich evaluated experience that people would appreciate, understand, and you're very engaging. So
that's great.
That is yours. But hey, if you did that in the next decade, me and Danny would go, yeah,
cheering for your victory.
Yeah,
I think that as we come to the end of this decade, I think the biggest takeaway that people should have is clarity, getting clear about where you are right now. And that comes with like journaling or using this guide, whether you choose to download it or not, just sitting and thinking about what happened over the last 10 years. Who are some of the people that I need to stay in contact with? Who are some of the people that I might have to limit my contact with because they're negative or they're holding me back? What are some of the things that I really want in my life? And why do I want those things? This is a time right now for a lot of people to really just sit back and think about where you are in your life and where you want to go in 2020 and in the next decade. Don't just jump in and start doing. Step back and think about, what is it that I really, really want in my life right now? And I think this is the perfect time to get clear, to get clarity, to get clear about what you really want in your life right now.
I will just add that there's a few things I quickly want to add. I think first of all, one of the things I watched a little while back that really impacted me was The Rock was on Oprah Winfrey's Masterclass about 2 years ago, and it was just him in front of a camera, 45 minutes,
right?
And he shared his life story.
Yeah.
And one of the things at the end, and I get so emotional about this because it really hit me. He said that the smile is real. He's with the love of his life. He has 2 kids now, but when this was recorded, he had a 13-year-old daughter. He still does. She's older now. And he said that when his daughter was born, he held her up in the air and he said, "I will always take care of you."
Wow. Yeah.
And then, so a few years ago, he was hanging out with her. They were chatting, and he asked his daughter, "What do you like the most about your dad?" And she said, "No, Dad, I don't know. No. You know." And she said, "No, I really want to know." And she said to him, "I trust you."
Wow.
Powerful, powerful statement. He said, for my girl who's 13 years old to say that to me, at 13 years old, I was nowhere near that.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
And He said that his big thing is to lead with love.
Yes.
So I'm going to add on to what Danny said. Clarity and leading with love is, so if you can meld those things, your impact will be greater than you ever thought it would be. My grandaunt on her deathbed, she said, look, 3 things she wanted to say to me. She said, work hard, save your money, live good. And what she meant by living good wasn't living with money a lot, but live good with people.
Yes. Yeah. I agree with that.
And it's so important. I keep on mentioning that to so many people these days, and they get it. And you see them going, wow, like it's like a light bulb for them.
Because so many people are searching for love. So many people, people are just looking for love and help and guidance because, all you're seeing a lot of hate in the world, and you're seeing a lot of people who are selfish. So there's a need and a desire for people to give love, to be loved, to be accepted, for knowledge. And I think that's a great lesson that, your aunt kind of left you with, just like my grandmother left me with before she passed away. So I completely feel that.
And one of the things I want to achieve in the next decade, before I go further, so Seth says, I want to be more strategic about my love life. I need to figure out how to do that. Talk to Coach Stone. He has experience helping ladies with that. So
yeah, definitely.
He can give you give a complimentary session.
Yeah, definitely.
Complimentary session. Yeah. So, and now I forgot about what I was going to say, because I see I'm so giving, I forget about what I with others. But I think that, that's really important, that you just live good with people. Live good.
And
Mr. Stone.
Yes.
It's been a rocking conversation. How do you, man? How do you just make magic, man?
No, I just, I love our conversations. It's great that we can engage with other people, because we always have good conversations offline. So I love the fact that we can come together and have these conversations, and other people chime in and we can share, because that's what it's all about.
Someone named Trudy chimed in for a few seconds and said, yes, even coaches need a coach. So,
it's true. Yeah.
True.
I have a coach. I have yeah. And one of the other things I wanted to tell people, so for the people who couldn't where you couldn't post the link, they can just go to iamdannystone.com/decade.
And I'll have the rebroadcasts of this out fairly soon, and we'll get it out there to make sure that people take advantage of this. We want you to succeed over the next 10 years, because not only be good for you, but more important, it's going to impact so many other people.
Yeah.
You know, so many other people. That's so huge.
Yeah, I think about not waiting. I think about people just, you know, tapping into your talent or your gift and just trying and putting it out there, because there's people who are waiting for you. You know, I realized that when I wrote the book and jumping on this men's project, it's like tomorrow just never comes. Like there's people right now who need what you have. They need your knowledge, your experience, your skills, your love. They need it now. So waiting until, you know, 6 months from now when things are right, or a year from now, it's too late for a lot of people. Just put yourself out there right now. You'll be surprised at the reaction that you get.
You know what? Every person has a gift that they need to share to the world. And I'm a firm believer that most people out there have $100,000 story.
Oh, of course.
And they're not. And look who jumps on, Dr. Tachi. Wonderful Dr. Tachi, who's from hot and sweaty Florida. Dr. Tachi hosts the livest live stream that's on media, tech, and pop culture. It's called Mediascope. It's on twice on Wednesdays, 5 p.m. Eastern time on Instagram live, and then at 6 p.m. she does Facebook Live and Periscope. That's one of the great things that's happened to me over the last 10 years, meeting Dr. Tachi and getting her thought process, having her take time out of her positive, productive schedule to introduce me to wonderful people.
Wow.
That are all her deltas. She's introduced me to that I really appreciate. So Dr. Tachi, thank you. And we're speaking it that you're going to have an outstanding next 10 years. And if there's anything I can do to level it up, we're here for you. And I guess her cohort, Encyclopedia Brown, Leah Miller, who's, I can't remember what country she's in. Maybe you can remember Tachi, but when I first met Leah, she was in Chile. She came back to America. And now she's in another country in Europe. Tachi, do you remember what country she's in? Armenia. Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yes. Living in Armenia with her family. So there you go. So any closing thoughts, Mr. Stone, and then tell people how they can reach out to you.
No, I think we've said it a lot. I just want people to really spend some time thinking about what they really want. And you know, the self-reflection guide is going to help you. But if you choose to use it, just sit down and write out like where you are and what you want to happen in the next decade, next year, and start seeing it and believing that it's possible. So that's all I want for people. And if I can be of service in any way, definitely let me know. You can reach me at I am Danny Stone everywhere. That's my website. That's all my social medias. So I am Danny Stone.
And follow him on Instagram because he posts great stuff every day.
Thanks. You too. I see your posts.
6 weekends off, but 5 weeks up there, you're 7 strong.
Yeah, that's true.
You're 7 strong. I am Dr. Vibe. I'm host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, 2018 award winner in the innovation category handed out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. I have decided going forward that I'm just going to keep it short and sweet. I used to say a whole pile of things where you could listen to me, all that. Just go to my website. It gives you everything. Yeah. And the website address is drvibeshow.com. All my contact information is there. All my epic conversations are there. Everything right there. So before we leave, I want to shout out to people who helped make this epic conversation. We had a young lady named Miss Trudy Stone. She made it epic. We also have Jeff Martin who jumped on. Tachi, thank you so much. We had some other people from Australia. David Hughes was on from Australia. There were other people who helped make this epic conversation. Again, please I will get this up really quick because it will have the link for your copy of your guide for the next decade. It also has contact information if you want to speak with Jeff. I was thinking Deaf. Right? Steph. Also, I have to thank Steph for being on this conversation. And I want, you know what? Reach out to Danny first.
Sure.
Go to him first.
Sure.
And if you can't vibe with Danny, then you can vibe with Vibe. All right. Or if you want together, if you want both of us together, we can do a tag team too.
Definitely. Yeah.
More than happy. Would love to do it. As I said, I'm really looking forward to leveling up with this young man. People may think that we've known each other for a long while. We've probably not known each other more for like 6 months.
Yeah, I know. It seems like a long time.
Seems like a long time, but that's when you invest in people and you're wanting the best for them, it's time. One last thing, folks. 2 last things. Time never lost the fight. So remember that. Don't be a woulda, coulda, shoulda person.
That's right.
Time never lost a fight. So we'll just close it off here. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get smaller to get stronger. Block assumptions and say, aim bigger, especially for the next decade. Aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Thank you so much, everyone. Have an outstanding rest of the decade because there's still some left.
That's right.
And the next decade, the best decade. God bless. Peace to well. Keep the faith and walk good. Bye-bye.